call me Mystic Mike because I predict these things.
Bruno Silva takes on Charles Johnson this Saturday at UFC Fight Night. And this is a good matchup. You know, both of these guys getting up there in age, both are 35 years old, been in the UFC for a while, have a lot of good experience against very high-level guys, haven't had the best records as of late. Charles Johnson coming off of a pretty bad TKO loss to Alex Perez, got a finish over Lone'er Kavanagh before that, which is very good in hindsight. Lost to Ramazan Tamirov before that by decision, and got a win over InnerG. So no shame in those losses. Tamirov is on a pretty good run. Alex Perez, always been underrated in my opinion. And a win over Lone'er Kavanagh, a win over InnerG, a finish over Joshua Van. Those are really good feathers to have in your cap. And again, he's very well rounded, comes from a wrestling base, has really good stand up, very versatile on the feet. And same with Bruno Silva. His only 2 losses in the last 4 or 5 years were against Manel Kape and Joshua Van, who I think are outside of Tatsuro Taira are the 2 best guys in the division, and just had a really impressive performance over Hyun Sung Park. Kind of dominated him on the feet, controlled him on the ground, eventually got the finish in round 3 by rear naked choke. So he's riding into this fight with a lot more momentum than Charles Johnson, who in my opinion is taking this fight a little too soon. After his last fight, got KO'd, took a lot of damage into January, now hopping back in there less than 2 months later. 35 years old, he's taken some damage in his career before, was knocked down a few times by Azat Maxim, and been in some wars throughout the year, so I don't like that for his chin and the future of his career. Thanks for watching, guys. Think about becoming a member by clicking that join button down below. It's $2.99 or $5.99 a month. It's going to give you exclusive access to my full card breakdowns as well as my betting advice. Just helps to kind of support the channel, put a lot of time into these videos, so appreciate your guys' support. And back to the video. But Bruno Silva, I feel like Charles Johnson probably sees something in Bruno Silva that he can capitalize on. Silva was supposed to be taking on Lone'er Kavanagh himself, who got pulled up to take on Brandon Moreno. So I think that Charles Johnson sees a pathway to victory in this one, which I do as well. Just to use his cardio, his wrestling base to defend the takedowns, keep it on the feet, utilize his reach advantage in this one and get it done. I do think that Bruno Silva does have a chance to chin Charles Johnson in this one because he does have really fast, powerful hands. He's very explosive, aggressive. I like his forward pressure. He's got really heavy leg kicks that we saw him using against Joshua Van. And although he has been kind of chinny as of late, he is a tough guy. He can take a beating and keep on going. And I do think that just looking at his last fight with his wrestling ability, I think that he could get it to the ground, and if he does, it could get pretty tricky for Charles Johnson, because I do think that Bruno Silva is the better jiu-jitsu practitioner. But I'm gonna go with Charles Johnson. I think that he's gonna be able to mix it up really well between his striking, his grappling, his pace, his cardio. He's got really good movement. He's able to really make it a gritty fight, make it a war, and give guys a lot of different looks. I think he'll be able to use his footwork, manage the range, use the his versatile attacks, front kicks, leg kicks, knees up the middle. He's got really good combos as well, straight punches. I think he's gonna, both these guys are pretty fast. They both have decent power as well and finishing ability. And I think that Charles Johnson will be able to just kind of weaponize his cardio, his volume, utilize that reach advantage, which is gonna be pretty substantial in this one. He's gonna be 5 inches taller and have a 4-inch reach advantage. So Bruno Silva, I feel like he can be kind of picked apart on the feet like we saw in his fights against Manel Kape and Joshua Van. He was losing the stand-up against Cody Durden before he caught him. So he does have some success, but I feel like it's against lower level guys on the feet. Hyun Sung Park, kind of inexperienced. Tyson Nam, Victor Rodriguez, JP Bays, but he takes on these guys like Ulaanbaatar, Van, Manel Kape, David Dvorak. And I think that Charles Johnson will be able to kind of pressure Bruno Silva the way that Van was. Utilize the volume, utilize the reach advantage. Bruno Silva just being at a height and reach disadvantage, I feel like sometimes he kind of has to lunge into the pocket to kind of land his strikes, and we saw Van having a lot of success kind of countering him as he came in, and I think that's what Charles Johnson plans to do in this one. I think that he'll find Bruno Silva in this one and get the TKO, so I'm gonna go with Charles Johnson. Got to keep his chin tucked, but I think he can get this one done over Bruno Silva, just being the much bigger guy and being able to kind of nullify what Silva does well, which is the boxing and the wrestling. So gonna go Charles Johnson. I think he can get this one done in the second round by TKO. Could be an interesting first round, but I feel like as the fights progress, especially against a smaller opponent, he can start to get his timing, get his reads, and start to see an accumulation of strikes similar to the way that he did against Lone'er Kavanagh, where he had a pretty rough first round, but then was able to turn it up in the second round and get the finish. So I'm gonna go Charles Johnson, get this one done by TKO round 2. Thanks.